Okay, so the recording is on. And so what I'm going to do is chmod a for all I'm removing execute permissions, and then file all the files. Okay, and now let's do ls-l, and you see there are other non-standard permissions here still, but the color is not green. Why? Because it doesn't have execute permission. So the moment you add an execute permission here, other, and there you go, it's in color now. So I had a brain freeze when somebody asked me why is this. This is why, because it will pop up. It will show you if you have like bunch of files here, right? It will show you, oh, you have so many files in there, and then if the file is in color, that means, oh, you got to be careful if those files has an execute permission. Any questions regarding that? So we grant the permissions. Okay, so we are done with the file permissions. Let's work on the directory permissions, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and everybody log into your first server, and I'm gonna remove everything from here. I don't have anything. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the directory mkdir, make directory dir1, okay, and hit enter. Do ls-l, and what you have is by default it's showing it's D here, and then at the same time there is execute permission. There is execute permission for the directory by default here. Let's take a look here. Why is that? Okay, so give me 1 second here. Annotate. Okay, so if you look closely here, this part so letter D means directory. Okay, and if you look closely here, the directory has execute permission X, 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 and then the directory is in color. That means it's a directory, but another reason it's in color is because it has execute permission. Okay, by default the directory has execute permissions here. So if you looked at our previous file here, the file doesn't have by default execute permissions. So if we do the math here, what is the permission number for user?
7.
Yep, very good, 7. And then for group,
7 as well.
7. And then others is,
It's going to be 5.
yeah, 5. So the final number for directory is 755. 775. Okay, so why is it doing this here? You know what? Actually, I messed up here. It's supposed to be 755. Let's switch as root. Everybody switch as root, actually. When you do sudo s-su, what a password is this going to ask?
I need a password for Zafar.
Yeah, very good. So go ahead and delete everything. And I'm going to do mkdir dir1. Okay, and I'll hit enter. And then I'm going to do ls-l and dir1. No, not that one. Just do ls-l. Okay, yeah, this is the permission I'm looking for actually. Don't worry about the user's permission. User's permission are a little different here, but most of the time you will be worried about working as a root user. So the permissions you're going to grant as root users, go ahead.
Mr. Zafar, question. Why didn't a directory show up when you typed in ls-l and direct dir1? Files show up like that when you specify them.
Yeah, what that command is doing is it's looking inside the directory.
Oh, okay.
I'll show you. That's a very, very good observation. Very good observation. I'm really happy what you just said. Okay, yeah, we'll do that in a minute here. But so I'm gonna write this up here. This is our directory. And the permissions, they all have execute permissions, and the permissions level is, if you do the math here, user is 7, group is 5, and others is 5. Okay, the reason it is having 555 is, remember, root is a super user, so root doesn't need any special permission. Without permission, with a 0 permissions to the directory, root could still get in there. Okay, and this is a directory. Why would a directory need a execute permission? Okay, why would it? Anybody could guess?
Because you can input files into it.
Or going inside the directory.
Okay.
Okay, going inside the directory needs a switching to, like, if we want to switch to dir, it needs an execute permission. So just think of a directory as a room, right? And if you want to enter the room through the door, you have to have a execute permission. So if you want to get in the room through the door, if you want to open the door and come inside, it need to have a execute permission. If it doesn't have an execute permission, then the door is sealed off. You cannot go in there. Okay, directory requires okay, so that's all we have here. Is we definitely need a execute permission for this thing here. Okay, so let me save this. So we have this LSFNL. In fact, let me put the date here. Okay, so these are the user's permission. And what did I had earlier here? Okay, so the permissions we have is read, write, execute, and this one is read and execute, and this one is read and execute. Okay, so D is for directory. Okay, and so I'm gonna put everything the same here. I'm gonna copy it from here. All these things what I have showed you earlier, all these things should be the same here, right? So this is 421. So this is 7, and X is 1, right? So this would be 5, and this is 1, so this would be 5 2. Okay. And then by default, these are the permission numbers here. And user, okay, so you all know this here. So the current permission for dir1. So the current permission for dir1 is, it has read, write, execute, read and execute, read and execute. So the total permission by default is 755. Okay, so when you come across the directory as a Linux administrator, if you see a directory others has a write permission, make sure you look into it. Why the directory has write permissions? Because I mean, going inside as a regular user and looking inside the directory is fine. Okay, execute permission for the directory is fine. Execute permission for file is not fine. You just look into it and see why a particular file has an execute permission. Okay, so that's your responsibility. If you come across something you think is not right, look into it and find out, or check with your teammates why something has permission and not supposed to. Most of the time, a file should not have an execute permission unless it's a script file. Okay, so you will once we already know the little bit of scripting, but what we're going to do is we're going to put the script in a file and then we'll execute that. All right, so far it's clear here, right? So the execute permission here is going to be 755, the default permissions.
Mr. Zafar, I have a question. I don't know if you said it or not, maybe I missed it, but I just wanted to ask you, why does a root user have less permissions than a regular user? Because when you opened up the when you created a directory in the regular user account, we had the right position as well for group, but now we don't. So is there a specific reason for that, or is it?
No, here the root group is, always remember, all these permissions are meaningless for root.
Okay.
Okay, let's do here. That's a very good question. Chmod a hyphen read write execute. Look, it has here. Let's see if as a root I'm able to go in the directory here. See? Okay, there is also, this is a good time for you all to remind that as a root you have a great responsibility. Okay, don't ever misuse it. And root, any permissions, anything, it's ultimate user. You could even edit the configuration file that comes from the manufacturer operating system. You have that much authority. You should be able to edit any files in the system here. Okay, so that's why the root user is meaningless here. Now coming back to your question here, why is this user, I mean the group, especially the other, doesn't have a right permission here? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into so everybody, let's go into your home directory from root. Okay, don't switch to your user. Just go to cd home/Zafar, and then if you do ls-l, I have one directory there, right? And here it says Zafar is owner and all that. It's still meaningless for root. Root could still get in there. cddir1 and hit enter, and the root can go in there and do whatever he wants. Similarly, let's create a username. Let's create another directory in your home directory. Okay. So you should be in /home/Zafar or whatever your home directory is. Okay, and as a root, do mkdir2. And if you look at the permissions here, so dir2, root has a greater responsibility that it's not allowing the execute permission. I'm sorry, writing permissions here. For a directory, writing permissions is important because you could go inside the directory, and if you're creating a file, that means you're writing to the directory. Okay, so as a regular user, creating a file inside the directory is not allowed. Okay, so let's go in there, open new session, and okay, you know what, just switch it back here as root Zafar, exit, and you're back as Zafar. Who am I? I'm Zafar here. I do ls-l, I have directory 2, and looking in here, root is the sole owner, but look at the permissions here. So if you're going into a Zafar which category you will fall in here?
You'll be in the other.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. Very good. So this part is for root user and this part is for root group. Anybody else who is not root or root group is gonna fall in here. So Zafar is able to get in this directory here, okay, with execute permission. So if I do cd dir2, I'm able to go in there as Zafar. Can I do a file in there, touch file 1? I cannot do that because I don't have write permission here. Look in here closely. There is no write permissions here. So I'm not able to create a file as a user in there.
So, question, Mr. Zafar, if right now the ownership for both the user and the group is root for this directory too,
Yes.
if we change the ownership for just group and the ownership for the root user was there, but the group was Zafar, would then we be able to edit the directory, like input files and stuff into it?
Yes.
Okay.
So since this part Zafar, he will belong to the group. Either you could give the, if you could, you know what, actually we are jumping the gun here, but if you just do this here other and you do write permissions here and user Zafar is able to do the write permissions here.
Okay. Okay.
So if you
Thank
go back as a user root, that's actually a mini topic here I will cover again. And then I'm going to go to cd/home/Zafar and I do ls-l on the directory. Let me clear this. And I have dir2, right? So I'm going to do chmod o plus write dir2. I'm going to come out of here and then I'm in Zafar here. So I'm in dir2 as Zafar, right? Now if I do touch file 1, I'm able to do that. Now look at the permissions here. Now since I created the file here, I am the owner of this file here. But it's meaningless for root user. He could come in there and delete everything, take out. If the root user is able to delete the user itself, then you could imagine how much damage the root user could do. Okay, also in normal circumstances the application team or only your team would have the root permissions. Anybody else have a root permissions, that is a security violation. Okay, if you find something, so question it, why somebody is not supposed to have permissions, have permissions. Okay, so moving along, let's talk about UMask. Okay.
Mr. Zafar, when you do ls-l and back when you got back into your root account, how come directory 2 isn't there? We didn't remove it.
No, there was in the Zafar directory.
Okay.
Yeah. That was earlier. Remember, we started off in Zafar, but I told you guys to switch.
Yeah, got it. Sorry about that.
So over here, let me just do officially in a neutral place here. So everybody do mkdir / test1. Okay? And hit enter. And if you do ls-l, you have no. So if you do ls-ld / test1, now it will give you the directory itself. If you do ls-l and /test, it will do what is the content of the file, the directory here. So if you want to do the directory itself, so this is the permissions again, like root, and others is nothing here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give the permission to Zafar, others, chmod, okay, O plus X test1, and I'm going to exit here, and Zafar, okay, I'm in my PWD, right? Now the test1 is not even in my PWD, it's like far away place, it's almost on the root directory. Not almost, it is on the root directory. Okay, cd test1, and if I do touch file 1, I should be able to do that.
You gave it a execute permission, not a write permission.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So hold on, let me copy this part here. So I have ls-ld / test1. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the permission here, chmod O plus, right, I'm going to do test1. Okay, now I'm going to exit here, and then I'm in test1 already. Now if I do touch file 1, I should be able to do it. And if I have any other users here, they are able to do it too. Let's do ID Terminator. He is there. So I'm going to do as switch as Terminator. One, two, three, four. I think I put the password in. Yeah. I'm in test1 now. And then if I do touch file 1, 2, and I didn't get an access denied. Why I didn't get an access denied? Because at this moment Terminator is part of other group. He's here. So if you do ls-ld now, and if you look closely, this dude has, everybody who is other has a write permissions also. Is that good?
Mr. Zafar, I have one question. I'm getting kind of, it's bothering me because I'm not understanding it. Would you be able to explain why we created a directory with a /test1 rather than just a test1?
I just want to remove the confusion creating a home directory into a home directory of a user. I put it in /test where it's independent of a Terminator user or Zafar user or any other user.
It's not letting me create a directory with a /. Without slash
As
it
a
is able
root.
to.
You have to do it as a root. Do MKD, are you logged in as root?
I am at Aisha 01.
Yeah, switch to root. sudo space su space hyphen and hit enter. And put in the password for root, which is oh no, put in the password for Aisha, the one you created for Aisha, or I think it's Aisha. I mean, put in the it's asking for the password for Aisha, right? Not for the root.
Yes.
Coleman, Koso, you all good?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm doing great.
All right. I expect yes from you guys. I mean, you are already AWS certified, so give me 1 second here. Let me get the coffee here, okay? Work on that, Aisha. I'll be right back in a minute. Okay, I'm back here. Are you caught up? Mirza, your question is clear, right? Or you still have a...
I'm still kind of trying to understand it. I mean, you explained it, but it's not clicking in yet.
Okay, slash test. What is slash?
Slash is root.
Yeah.
I think somebody else has their mic open too, Mr. Zafar. I can hear you twice.
Yeah. Please, whoever is not speaking, please go on mute.
Did you do any changes in my putty? Hello?
No. Is it
Because
Husna?
it's showing me, yeah, it's showing me at Husna at master 01.
Yeah.
I'm not in the server.
So connect to your own server one. Do SSH and actually write this down here. So you are 1, 2, and 3. All these are your 3 servers. Okay.
Yeah, I tried that.
Do SSH and then do 10.1.10.125 from master 01.
Okay, now I'm at Husna 01.
Yeah. Now that's your own system. You are the master of that system. Okay.
Okay, before it used to show me at Husna at server 01.
No, I changed it. I changed the name so that people don't have any confusion here. So when did I change it? When The assignment 6 was there. I changed this to main server was server 01, right? I changed it to master. So from outside world, you're coming into this server on the left, and from there you're connecting to server 1, server 2, server 3. You are the owner of these 3 servers, okay?
Okay.
So I explained you what is this main server is actually a jump host.
Yeah. You can go ahead. I'm fine with
Yeah, I mean, now that you have, I'm gonna. I mean, everybody, somebody else might have a question, but they may not speak up. So the server you're connecting from 71, whatever that IP address is, it is considered a jump host. Okay. Where did it go? I need to split the document up here. So from here, you're connecting to 7157. This is the server, and these are your 3 Linux servers, okay? That's how this architecture look like. Okay, good. So please remember that anytime you're working on it, make sure your name is appearing here, because the reason I told you to name it like Zafar 1, Zafar 2, Zafar 3, so that you know you are working on your own server. So Mirza, coming to your point here, so the root directory, look who is the owner here, root and root. And nobody else could write to it, okay? Even though it says here for root is able to write anywhere. It's meaningless here. So what I did here is I put this into a neutral place, ls-ld/test1. So here this directory is root and root, and this directory is sitting outside the any regular users directory. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. Now, even though these are root here, I grant permissions to other. Other could be an application ID, or okay, for the system, it's meaningless if it's an application ID or a user ID, because they all are user IDs for the system here. So I granted permission to this group here. I'm sorry, others group. That means whoever falls into others group is going to be able to write it here. Did you get it, or you still need more explanation?
No, I understand it now.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're fine. We're fine. Thank you.
Okay. So if you create a new user and go into this folder here and try to create a file, you should be able to do that. And that user would be the owner of the file. But still it's meaningless for root user, because he has full control over no matter who creates a file there. So I should make a note here. Okay, all right, good. And one other thing is I see most of you are doing a really good documenting, when you are sending the assignment, you guys are putting in a document and doing it. That is going to be really a good skill at work, because you would need to be able to document some files, document like this, and send it to the team or people who are going to use it. So that is I see that's a really good trait you would develop. So continue and keep up with that, okay? All right, so we are good here. So let's get out of this. So did I ever tell you guys that in Linux, how the Linux treat a file and a folder is the same thing? Did I ever mention that? If not, I'm going to do it now. So the only reason I may be holding it back is not to confuse here. Linux treats files and folders as a file. Okay, you might get you might get this question at work here. And if your colleague, they're saying file, what is the file name, and he gives you the name of a folder, that means he's not wrong. He's giving you the correct information. You just have to figure out when you look it up, the file name. Test is a file, test 1 is a file, and test file 1 and file 2 is a file. It's just we are referring this to as a directory, because what it's doing is it's just creating a file here. Like here, the menu, consider this as a directory and then making this as a submenu here. So file, main file, and subfiles. Okay, just remember that way. But don't sweat over this. It's just as easy as it gets. But in general speaking terms, Linux remembers the directory and the file nothing more than as a file. Okay, so yeah, that's all there to it, nothing more than that. I think we already talked about the stat, right? Yeah, a stat. Okay. All right, so moving along, let's talk about UMask. How the permissions are actually devised for the system here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is UMask. Okay, so everybody switch to as root. Oh, I got disconnected. Why did I get disconnected? Okay, I'm back. So sudo su hyphen okay. Terminator doesn't have oops. So I'm back into my server, and then I'm logging in as Zafar01, and I'm here. So let's see here, root, as root type UMask, UMASK. Okay, by default, you will get this output here. UMask 0022. Okay. Now before that, let's go back up what we did here. For a root user, what is the default permission for a file?
755.
Yeah, as for the folder. What about file? For the file, it's 644.
644. Yes.
And for directory, so default for file is 644, right? And for directory is 755. Okay, why is this number coming up here? Okay, so the reason the number is coming up here is very simple here. UMask. When the system is providing the permissions, okay, for file is gonna provide the permission based out of maximum permission 666, and for directories it gives the permission based out of 777. Okay, so when we type umask and we got the message here, 022 is the output here. So let's take a look here why that 022 is that output. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a table here. Okay, so we have 4 places here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to type this here, 0, 0, 2, 2. Okay, so this part is symbolic. It's not being used here. And this part is user, this part is group, and this part is other.
Mr. Zafar, one question for you. Your voice is very, it's very static. It's breaking up a lot.
Oh, really?
I don't know if
Okay.
anybody else is having this problem or not.
All right.
Yes, I have the same issue.
Also having that.
Everybody is having an issue?
I don't have any.
Hello? Hello? Okay, I reconnected again. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Is it any better?
Yeah, it's better. Yeah, it is me.
Mirza, are you able to hear me good?
No, it's actually still doing the same.
Okay. Okay, let me click on noise removal. Hello? Hello? Okay, what about now?
Now it's better.
Okay, good. All right, so let me share the screen again. Okay, so within this number, we have users group and others. Okay, so the masking means remove these permissions. Mask means cover it up, right? Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, remove the permission. Okay, so what is it it's removing? Okay, so by default,
Zafar, you wrote making means remove the permission. Might confuse later on.
yeah, masking. Mask means remove the permission. So let's look at the file permission first. Umask. So our umask is 022. Okay, that's the default. Where did I put mask? Okay, so this is a default default root umask. Okay, it's possible that no, it's not possible. It is the user umask is different than root umask. Okay, so what it's doing here is file permission with umask. So by default, file permissions are calculated using 666. Okay, so when you create a file, everybody go ahead and remove whatever you have in there, rm-rf asterisk in your directory. So when you create touch file 1 and hit enter, so when you did the touch file 1, what the system is doing is it's giving the permission 666 for the file, and in the fraction of a second, since the umask is set to 222, it's removing 022. So if you do the math here, right, so if you do the math here, if you have like 5 tables here. And okay, so okay, so what do we have here? We have user, group, and others. And over here, I'm going to put down system permission. Okay, this is the first thing you guys are learning, that the system permissions. What the system is providing the permission? 666. Okay. So the system permission is 666. Now we have UMask. UMask says, wait a minute here. Whatever the permissions is default, I'm going to take off the UMask permission. Okay, remove. So in here is going to do 0, 2, 2. So the UMask is 0, 2, 2. Now if you do the math here, final permission. Okay, 6 minus 0 is how much? 6 minus 0, 6. 6 minus 2?
4.
4. And here, what do we have earlier? 644. Any questions? Do you agree? File permission is 644.
Yes.
Okay. And the directory permission.
So, Mr. Zafar, where does the first 0 fall in place? The symbolic one.
Symbolic one is just symbolic. It's for some reason I think it's carrying over from Unix. I mean, there's so many, not so many. There are few items in Linux environment which are unexplained, and I think symbolic 022 is one of them. Maybe it's because you want to keep like a 4-digit space. I'm not sure why. But right now, symbolic, the UMask 00 is never, the first leading 0 is never used.
But we should always count it though, right? Like it as an imaginary 0 being there? Because it can mess us up if we just say 022. It wouldn't make sense to somebody.
It will. If your
Okay.
colleague is asking what is the UMask set to, just tell him 022, not 0022.
Okay.
He will
Perfect.
know.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, yeah. Now let's work on the directory permission, okay? With UMask 0022. So I'm going to copy this part here because this is similar. Okay, so earlier I told you the directory permissions is this here, but the directory permission is based on 777, the maximum permission for the so here the final is 644. So now here this is the same thing. The system permission here is 7 because the system already detects you're creating a directory. 777 is based on full permissions. Okay, and the UMask is 022 and 022. Okay, and then if you do the math here, 7 minus 2 is 5, 7 minus 2 is 5, 755. And then this is what we already saw earlier. 755. Okay.
Mr. Zafar, in your notes right here under directory, it says by default file permissions are calculated. I think it should be folder permissions are calculated.
Yeah, folder directory. Right. Very good. Directory permissions are calculated using 777. So what does 644 come out to be? 644 equal to read, write, hyphen, read, hyphen, hyphen, read, hyphen, hyphen. Okay? And and then what is the 755 looks like? Okay, so it's gonna be read, write, execute, I think, right? Yeah, and read hyphen execute, read hyphen execute. Okay, so yeah, now you could definitely change the UMask value here, but never do that here. Most of the time, we never really mess around with the UMask value. We just create the files and the UMask value will take care of it here. But if you want to change the UMask here, what are you gonna do? Let's see if I could do this here. I've never done this. UMask 000. Okay, and if I do UMask, it's all zeros here. But I think this is I'm not sure how the system is going to react. I have not done this. Okay, so it did give you the full permission 666. Okay, and let's look at the directory here. And the directory is full permissions here. So it's very dangerous. But if you see a UMask 000, you're being hacked. Okay, so you better be careful what is going on, because this is not normal. But then again, you see here, once you have a root access, you could do a lot of damage here. Okay, so if you see a UMask 000, make some noise, it's not normal. Now, if you exit out of here and if you come back here, I think the UMask goes back to what it's supposed to be. Yeah. UMask stays in this place until you change it to. So the UMask comes back to default once you exit. All right, let's take a break here. And then after this, I think UMask, don't sweat too much over this. I thought you should know what this part is. This is just for your knowledge here, okay? Because, I mean, I'm not using UMask every day. But, just for your knowledge, you should have that. Okay, so now after the break, we'll come back and we do some the groups, how the groups are managed and all that. Okay, all right. Let's take a 20-minute break. We'll be back at 11:50 Central, 11:53 Central. Okay, groups break starts now.
I hear you.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So, all right. Now I'm going to talk about groups here. So we talked enough about the users, right? Create user. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to do a group. We're going to create a group and then play around with the group here, okay? So user administration and permission, okay? Both go hands in hand. All right. So all right, so this is just informational, so don't worry about this part here. Normally the UMask, you normally don't play around with UMask as much. Excuse me. So the groups is, this part is the group here. So if you do ls-l, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, everybody log in as root and go ahead and get rid of all your so what we're going to do is, so what is group is simple here. Linux group is okay. All right, I like this here, so I'm gonna, this definition is good. So a group is a collection of a user, okay? Right now our WhatsApp group is a group, right? We have a, if you send a message to the group, everybody gets it. All right, so similarly, so if you assign if you're assigning any permissions here, read, write, and execute permission to the group, and whoever who belongs into the group will get that permission. Okay, so let's work on that. So let's do ID Terminator, and we have a group he belongs to. Okay, so this is a user group, and I mentioned earlier the group, another group is created with the same exact name as the user ID. So the group ID is, it automatically is taking up the GID here, group ID. Okay, why? Because a user need to be on the part of a group no matter what. So since the system doesn't know which other group the user need to be on, it automatically creates another group with the same ID, a new group with the same ID. And then here's the list of all the groups he belongs to. By default, this is what it is going to show. The more groups you add, the more listing you will see this user belongs to a group. So in WhatsApp, it's possible that you are a part of many other groups, right? Same thing. Okay, so let's copy this part here. Now we'll talk about this. So in here, UID is user ID. Okay, over here is user ID is this, user ID Terminator. And group ID is this. Okay, and the next one is groups. Info about this user's other group membership. Okay, what are the other groups he belongs to? He belongs to, these are the other groups here. And I don't think there is a limit how many groups a user could belong to. Okay, so all right, so let's go ahead and create a group here. So what I'm going to do is let's do you could, there are a couple of ways you could see the group is present or not. So if I do cat etc not password group group, and I could see all the other groups in there. So the Terminator group is there, Zafar group is there, and the other ones are the system generated groups here. So, and the wheel group, our favorite, if somebody is in this wheel group, they are the administrators. They are the pseudo guys, that you could super users. Zafar and Terminator are in wheel group. Okay, we have, once we do this here, it will automatically add Terminator or Zafar to wheel group here. Okay, now let's go ahead and create this time a group. We're not going to create a user, we're just going to create a group. So once you do that here, the file gets updated here. This file gets updated. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do group add is the new command. group add. Earlier we used user add, right? This time we're gonna use group add. And then you have either you could do like a name of the group, or you could specify the group ID this time. So I'm gonna specify the group ID 9000. Or we're gonna play with the user Terminator, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give the group name 9000. I'm giving the group ID 9000, the number ID, okay? And I'm going to give the group name machine, because Terminator is a machine, right? He's coming from future as a machine. Oh, okay. So I have to add a G in there.
Professor, I have a question so far.
Mm-hmm.
So, the first time we had wheel as a group, it was default group by default, or you just create
By default. The wheel group is automatically a system group.
Okay. Okay, thanks, sir.
Nobody belongs to it, okay? So now what I'm going to do is
And Mr. Zafar, to go on that wheel group, just to add on to that, that's only for elevated access, right? So if you want to give a user elevated access, then you add him to the wheel group?
yes, wheel group, that's it, sudo access.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, that's your job as an administrator. You should be checking now and then if I get a request, a user needs the sudo access or something. Usually those requests are denied. You're not supposed to give a sudo access to most of the time the users who are not part of the Linux team. If somebody is asking for the sudo access and they are not part of a Linux team, then that need to be approved with a higher management. So now that I'm specifying, if I don't specify the number, it would take the next number in there in line. It will take like 1001, 1002, but I'm specifying the group number here. So what I'm going to do is group add -G. That means use the primary group, the group. I'm specifying the group. What is the -G means? -G means specifying the group ID, numeric number. Okay, and then the group name. This part is an extra optional we are adding. If you add user add machine, it will it will automatically go in there and then add it to the user add machine, and then it will do it as a 1002. But I'm giving it 9000 so that I remember that. Okay, now if you want to see if the group is added, I do group machine group machine or group ID machine, no such user, gid machine. How do I check this? I forgot. If you forget, what do? You put in Google, okay? Don't be shy about that.
Professor.
Yes.
Professor. So you can do grep machine ETS group, you can see, then you see the machine over there.
I know, but I want to see using the command.
Okay.
I don't want to check the file. Like password file is to check if the user is there, right? But if you do ID, the username, read max, that's how to add a user to the group in Linux. Okay, create a new group. -G is specifying the ID, okay? K non-unique password -R system root prefix. Well, if you do cat etc group, is gonna be there for sure. See, it added the machine here. What if you added user add, no, group add, if I do group add, stove, and if I do cat etc group, oh, it's taking 9001. I thought it would take, so maybe the counter starts from here then. 9000, if you start doing 9000 here. Okay, that is new for me. You know what, I'm not worried about it. Don't add a stove here. Group del. Okay, let's stick with the plan I have here. So we added a group name. We added a group with the ID 9000, okay?
So the name can be anything besides 9,000 machine. We can add any name to it.
Yeah, any name to it. Usually you would end up adding the application name, like Oracle, database, something like that. But in this case, since we're dealing with a Terminator, he's a
So
machine.
the basic command is like group add -G.
Yeah. Group add
And then we can add any name.
-G. And if you, this part is if you're specifying the ID. If you're not specifying the ID, it will randomly take the next one in the So let's see here. If you go to your other server, if I go into my other server here, right? What is my other server?
10.1.10.232.
Okay. Okay, so I think 185 is my other server here, right? Oh. You know what? I am not set up as a... So I could go in there as a Zafar here, there, right? Then and I do su dosu hyphen. Okay. So I am into my other server here. If I do cat etc group, so next group I'm going to create is, if I create like user add, and then if I not user add, group add, machine here. So it took it without hyphen G and then the machine ID here. See, let's see here what it's going to do. Now, see, as we suspected earlier, it's taking the one in the series here, the first 9,000, I'm sorry, 1,000. The next one is following up is with 1,001. Unless you specified hyphen G and then the group ID, it don't care. It just gonna take the one next one available. Okay, so but don't worry about that. Here the reason I have you added here is machine is because we're gonna have this set up as a user Terminator. So if I do cat etc group, so the machine is there and then the group is in added in there. Okay, now what we're gonna do is so let me just explain this command here. This is command group add, and this is hyphen G means specify group ID. Okay, specify group ID number, I should say. And then over here GID number, which is we did 9,000, and this part is a name. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a Terminator in that group machine name. So he's a part of so now he will be part of a third group, which is going to be the machine. So how we gonna do it? User mod hyphen A means add, uppercase G means secondary group. We did user mod hyphen G, right? When it's a lowercase g, it would be the primary group, but if it's a uppercase G, that is secondary group. Okay, and then what you could do is you could give the machine name, or you could give the user ID. Mirza, do it with the number. I'm going to do it with the machine. It will give you the same result. And Terminator. Terminator. And if I do ID Terminator, now you could see here he is part of a 9000 group, which is a machine group. So now the Terminator is part of 3 groups. Group name Terminator, group name Wheel, and then a group name Machine.
Mr. Zafar, question. When we did when we added the user Mirza to the wheel group, we also used the same command, user mod -a and then capital G. And then we did wheel and then Mirza.
Yeah, so we did
Versus
add him as a secondary group.
secondary group, okay. And it also worked with the 9000, like you told me to.
Yeah, good. So either you could give the name or the number. So I'm going to copy this part here. Now assign group to Terminator. So I have 4 boxes here, so let me create 4 boxes. So the first one is command, which is user mod. Okay, and the second is -a and uppercase G. So A is for add, and G is for secondary. Okay, you could put AG together, and then we put here as group name. What you could do is git / group name. And then the user ID or username. You could definitely use the user ID 1001 and it will pick that up, okay? Because it knows the third part is the Terminator.
Mr. Zafar, quick question. Is there a limit to how many groups you're assigned to, or that can be as many as possible?
Yeah, I mean, in reality, I've seen only one user is assigned to like the most 4 or 5 groups.
Okay.
I don't see any restrictions in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question though. So now he is part of a machine group here, okay? But if we put him as user mod -G, so what it's gonna do is it will kick this off, and this will be replaced with 9000. Okay, so I'm doing 9000 and to the user 1001, right? I'm using numbers this time. What? User mod -G. Oh, I have to give the user mod -g. That's correct. Is it not going to take? It didn't take. I thought it would take the number here, but it didn't. But anyway, so now if you do, this part will be gone. It will be 9000 will be replaced here, and then wheel group. So if you look ID Terminator here, so 9000 is his primary group, and then secondary group is wheel. So once we add this here, all right, so let's have some game here, okay? So what we're gonna do is, let's go ahead and create our ID as a user. As a root user, let's create a, not an ID, but a folder. mkdir assignment. Okay, that's a Terminator's assignment here. Give me 1 second here, guys. I have a call. जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी जी हाँ नहीं हम लोग लास्ट वीक में बहुत परेशान थे सैटरडे ना अचानक वो नॉर्मली नमाज़ पढ़ के उठ जाते हैं नमाज़ पढ़ के सो जाते हैं फजर ये सब करके फिर 10-11 बजे उठते हैं ना तो वो उठे नहीं पर फिर ज़रा देर से आए शायद खुद से बाहर आए बट लिटिल बिट डिसोरिएंटेड दिख रहे थे हाँ तो आई मीन ऑब्वियसली डिसोरिएंटेड थे आई मीन बात करने को जा रही है वो फिर जो है हम लोग ने घर में वो है ऑक्सीजन टेस्ट है तो हमने ऑक्सीजन टेस्ट किया फिर ऑक्सीजन 50% बताया तो फ़ौरन हम लोग ने वो पैरामेडिक्स को बुला लिया वो लेके राइट अवे जो है ना ऑक्सीजन लगा दी वो लोग देन दे टेक इट टू कॉन्डेल वहाँ पर ऑन अराइवल वो इमरजेंसी में ले लिया और राइट अवे जो विदिन हम लोग जब तक पहुँचे दे पुट हर ऑन सेडेट भी कर दिया उनको फिर ब्रीदिंग ट्यूब पे भी डाल दिया तो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह 3 दिन तक सेडेटेड थे ब्रीदिंग ट्यूब पे देन आफ्टर दैट वो सेडेशन से निकाले फिर ट्यूब भी निकाल दिए अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह हम लोग काफ़ी परेशान थे वो टाइम पे ना जी अभी हॉस्पिटल में हाँ नहीं भाई के पास थी जी IFL के पीछे जो है घर जी हाँ तो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह देखिए इतनी मुश्किल में भी हम लोग डर रहे थे कि भाई उसको मिलेगा रूम या नहीं जो ना तो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह अच्छा हो गया पैरामेडिक्स और हॉस्पिटल में हाँ डे बाई डे इम्प्रूव हो गए पर और हाँ पर जो है ना लिटिल बिट उनको और टाइम चाहिए ना एज के लिहाज से 78 और समथिंग तो एज के लिहाज से उनको जो है ना वो थोड़ा 2 वीक लॉन्ग टर्म जो होता है ना वो वहाँ जी ये एज में हाँ अबू को तो कई बार रखे वो वहाँ पर है वो नॉट 21 लिबर्टी विल में है ना वो मैरियनो जहाँ है वहाँ पर जस्ट बिफोर हाँ वहाँ पर एक है मिनर केयर बोलते हैं उसे एल्डर केयर वहाँ पर रहेंगे 2 वीक्स तो वहाँ पर दे मेक श्योर शी इज़ फंक्शनल शी इज़ वॉकिंग एंड एवरीथिंग जी जी हाँ जी 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 जज़ाकल्लाह मैं आपको कुछ नहीं हाँ इंशाल्लाह अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह यहाँ पर अच्छा केयर मिल गया। मैं तो डर रहा था क्या होते ना। वेरी गुड केयर। हाँ unmatched है। They don't care who you are. They just take it and start working on it. जी हाँ बैटरी इसमें मैं और आई मीन जेब से ही पैसे नहीं जाते हैं ना। मैं ऑब्वियसली शी हैज आई मीन इवन मेडिकेयर है तो I mean, हाँ तो काफ़ी होता है डॉलर टर्म्स में ये थाउजेंड डॉलर्स बिल्स हैं। वहाँ इंडिया में अगर रहते तो यू हैव टू पे अप फ्रंट समथिंग लाइक दैट। ड्रामेटिक हो ना मूवी का सीन हो जाता वो ऑलमोस्ट। जी आई मीन एटलीस्ट तो वो ले तो लेते हैं ना भाई। दे डोंट गेट आपको वेट तो नहीं करते। हाँ वो बात की बात है। हाँ कॉस्ट ऑफ बिजनेस होता है ना वो। जी हाँ पर केयर तो टॉप नॉच होता है नो मैटर व्हाट मेरे ख्याल में। हाँ इवन जो है एम्बुलेंस में कुछ नहीं था खुद ही लेकर भागो करो समथिंग लाइक दैट। अभी पता नहीं कैसा है वहाँ पर। काफ़ी दिन हो गया पर ऐसा सिस्टम तो नहीं है यहाँ की तरह ना। जी हाँ नहीं पर वो सब रहने के बावजूद भी डिलीवरी चाहिए ना भाई लोगों को मिलना वो। हाँ आई मीन डिलीवरी सिस्टम भी नहीं है वहाँ पर। चलो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह आई मीन स्टिल अप्रिशिएट दिस कंट्री यू नो इनसाइड आउट। जी जी जज़ाकल्लाह जी शामिल थैंक यू। Okay guys, sorry about that. So let's back to our assignment. We're gonna assign a Terminator.
Mr. Zafar, one observation I made right now, I just wanted to confirm that when you do the slash assignment, that's basically so that way when you're logged in as a regular user, you can access that as well, right? Since it's going to be in the slash folder. Would that be another way to look at that?
Yeah, the slash folder is the topmost directory.
So you can access that when you're a regular user too.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why we do mkdir slash assignment when we're in root, right? Because if you just did mkdir assignment in root, you wouldn't have access to it.
It will create in the root directory, home directory for root.
Okay, so you won't have access to it then as a regular user.
No, you have to assign the access.
Okay.
So if you do lsf and ld here, and if you look at the permissions here, you may not be able to create as a regular user anything here. Okay, for now you are actually other. Because root is the owner and root is the group, and you are the other here. As other, you definitely could go into the root directory, but you could view around. Okay, so if you do ls-l here, okay, and let's take a look here. So this almost all directories as a regular user you have access, but look at the root directory, you don't have access. Okay, and I'm looking at the other. So there is so the root directory definitely is restricted. As a user, you could go into almost any directory here, even you could go into like even the home directory. Then when if you do ls-l, so if I'm doing ls-l, and these are the users, and as a regular user I won't have access to this other users directory. Did you get it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so let's okay, so I'm gonna create assignment group, user add, what am I doing here, mkdir/assignment. Okay, so I'm gonna create this here. Okay, and then I'm gonna go in the directory. And if I do ls-l, there is nothing in here. So I'm gonna create a file, vi, okay, terminate Sarah, and then I'll hit enter here. Okay, terminate Sarah Connor. Okay, and the next directory I'm gonna do is terminate John. And I'm gonna say terminate John Connor. Okay, so now if I do ls-l, so we have assignment for Terminator. Okay, so now what Terminator need to do is, using his ID, he should be able to go in this assignment and take a look what his assignment is. Okay, so let's try logging in. Open another window here. This is going to be fun. Open another window, and you have to go back to your first server again. Here, I'm gonna go to my first server, and then I'm gonna switch to Terminator. Okay, I am Terminator here. Who am I? I'm a Terminator. Okay, now, so you're told that you have an assignment here, so I'm going to go into assignment and see what my assignment is. Okay, these are the permissions right now. Okay, as a Terminator, I'm going to go into CD assignment. All right, I went into assignment just fine, and I'm looking in there. Okay, so why is Terminator able to go into assignment? Because as a user, he has permission to go into the assignment directory here. Now I have assignment terminate John. I need to look what my assignment is. Okay, so I'm going to cat terminate John. Okay, so this is what is showing here. If I do, why is it showing here? Why is I'm still be able to read?
Because you have read access as well.
Read access, yeah. After the assignment is terminated, complete, I'm going to go in here and put a note here. Okay, assignment, John terminated. Okay, I'm going to save and exit, and I'm not able to do that. Okay, why? Because I don't have permissions. It looks like as if I am able to do it, but you don't have permission, so the only thing you could do is quit out of it. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna give him the permission to edit the file John, terminate John here. Okay, let's do that. So this part, switching to all that, is good, right guys? Or I have to put it in the notes? Let me go ahead and put it in the notes. Everybody, were you able to open a second party session? Anybody who are not able to do it, let me know now. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is so login as okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to so I have ls-l. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this permission here for terminate John. Can somebody help me? chmod.
It's going to be chmod.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do it numerical wise or letters?
Letters. Let's do letters.
Okay, you're going to do G minus R.
G-O minus R, yeah.
Okay, you can do it together. Like, okay, that's fine too. Yep, and then terminate -John.
Okay, so if you do ls-l, now let's see here if a terminator has access to John here. Okay, so he came in here and he has assignment, and if you do cat terminate John, and he has a permission denied. Okay, he as a user, as a direct user, he doesn't have a permission. But now my next step is I'm going to give him a permission to the group. Remove group and other read permission. And when he went in there as a Terminator, okay, so actually I'm going to move this window here to resize it. Okay, so his permission is denied here. Now what I'm going to do is grant group access. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the permissions here. So there is a couple ways you could do this here. Okay, no, not the Terminator. In the root window, you have ls-l, right? And you have the permissions. So what you really want to do is you want to have like a list of assignments for Terminator. So you want to give access to Sarah and John files too. But you don't want to sit there and give each permission to each file here. So what you're going to do is, let me just get out of here, and the command is you do chown change ownership -r, means recursive, means the folder itself and all the content inside the folder. And right now the permissions is root, and now I'm going to do semicolon, then I'm going to do machine. Okay, so this part is going to change. Whoever is going to be in the machine group is going to have access to this. chown-r machine assignment. Let me go back into the assignment folder, and if I do ls-l, now there you go. He doesn't have access to now it doesn't specifically says any thing here, but as long as the machine is the group owner, I think this part will work too. Let's take a look if it's gonna work. I'm gonna do vi terminate John. Oh, it's a permission denied still.
Mr. Zafar, I think you're supposed to do chgrp since you're doing the ownership for group.
No, group works too. I mean, chown works too.
On works too, okay.
Yeah, that's another way to do it is change group. Okay, so then again, the individual level file, the group permission is not there. So let's go into terminate Sarah. Okay, and then let's do mission failed. Why is he saying overwrite? You know why? Can somebody tell me why I'm not able to do this? Yeah, you know it. Common. Exit out of here and come back in again.
Because you're in a different server?
No. You have to get
You
out
have
of
to-
You have to exit and come back again. You have to come out of the session. Like if somebody reset your password, they'll tell you, okay, quit and come back in again, right? So now if I do a VI terminate John, so the permission is denied. Why? Because there are no permissions at all. Let's see terminate Sarah. Still is a read only. Because you still need to have the other permissions too. I was in the okay, so you still need to have the right permission also. Okay? Hold on. If I do ls-ld assignment, the permission did work, right? As a group and as a machine. So, but then again, the machine doesn't have read-write access. So let's change a little bit here. What I'm going to do is chmod -r. Okay? And then group plus write assignment. So I'm adding, so this won't work here. I have to do it as a root. ls-ld assignment. So if you look at the folder itself, it has a write permissions also as a group. And then if you do ls-l, so the write permissions are here too. Oh, this is going to be funny. This dude doesn't have a read permission here. So let's see if he's able to read at all. Go in there. Terminate Sarah, right? Okay. Okay, so he is able to do it. Okay, so why is he able to do it? He is able to write, but can he read it? Is he able to cat the? He's not able to cat, I think. Oh, he is able to. Why is he able to do that? Because the folder permissions are read and write. So he's able to go into the folder and he's able to read and write Sarah here. But let's see if he's going to do that for John. So the John permission is denied. What about, is he able to do it here? So since he doesn't have the read permission, he's not able to write it either. So you must have a read permission before you write it. Let's do this here. I'm going to clean this up. We'll start fresh again from the assignment folder tomorrow, and then we'll walk you through it. Don't worry about this, what happened in the last 10 minutes here. It's a little bit confusing, but tomorrow we'll have two sessions open next to each other, and then we'll work on it.
It's very confusing. Everything. Very
I know,
over-
I know it's confusing. Because were you able to have two windows open?
Yeah, I did that, but it was not. I was not able to connect to the other server.
Yeah. So let's do this. We'll have that set up tomorrow before we continue on.
Okay.
All right, guys. I'm gonna end here, and then any questions put in a group, and then anything else between now and tomorrow, I will let you know if I face any problems. But hopefully, we'll have everything on time. There's no issues.